aboard Delta 1517 service to Kansas City. I know there's a little bit of confusion on the departure time. I'm not sure what happened to the original flight crew. The captain and first officer couldn't make this flight, so we got a late call out at 8 a.m. morning traffic in LA, so it's taking my first officer a little bit of time. She should be at the airport around 10, and then get through security maybe around 10:15. I got everything up here ready to go, so once she gets here, we'll just run some checklists and get on the way. Once we do, it's 2 hours, 37 minutes, pretty smooth flight. 57 degrees over there in overcast skies. Thank you for flying Delta, and thank you for your patience for this short flight.
Our first officer has arrived and we will be departing from the gate shortly. We do apologize for our late departure and hope it's not going to cause you too much inconvenience. We're just going to do the real quick cabin checks and we'll be pushing away from the gate shortly. And this time we're going to ask that all of the electronic cellular functions are disabled so for our taxi on takeoff as well as landing. There should be no WhatsApp, FaceTime, Wi-Fi calling allowed on this or any Delta Airlines flight. Thank you for your patience again. Flight attendants, arm your doors for departure. Cross-check please and stand by for all call. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Delta Airlines Flight 1516 with non-stop service to Kansas City, KCAC. Again, we do apologize for our late departure. We had some crew issues here, so we had to get a new crew here out of Los Angeles. Again, we do thank you for your patience. My name is Mr. Buchanan. I'm your flight leader. I'm working along with two other New York City-based flight attendants who are here primarily for your safety. In command of your flight this morning, you have Captain Legou. He's assisted by First Officer Ogabar. And Captain has informed me that our flight time en route, that's from takeoff to landing, will be 2 hours and 37 minutes, cruising at a final altitude of 37,000 feet. Temperature upon arrival in Kansas City will be 57 degrees, overcast skies. Please direct your attention to the video screens throughout the cabin as we point out the safety features of this Airbus 319 series aircraft. Once the safety demonstration is over, the flight attendants will be in the aisles to answer any safety-related questions that you might have, as well as run our cabin checks and must be seated. Good morning, welcome aboard, and thanks for selecting Delta.
Delta has always put people and safety first. We are honored that you're with us today as we celebrate our centennial, and we look forward to serving you for another 100 years. Now sit back, relax, and please pay attention to this important safety presentation.
Welcome aboard, and thank you for choosing Delta for 100 years and counting.
Delta Airlines.
The health and safety of our customers and crew is our #1 priority and the shared responsibility of everyone on board. So, before we depart, please pay attention to this important message. Stow all carry-on items in an overhead bin and place smaller items completely under the seat in front of you.
Larger electronic devices must be placed in a bag. Handheld portable electronic devices, including mobile phones, should also be secured.
Keep the aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas clear. If you lose an electronic device in your seat, please do not adjust your seat and ask a crew member for help.
As we leave the gate, fasten your seatbelt by inserting the metal tip into the buckle
and adjusting the strap so it's low and tight across your lap. To release, lift the top of the buckle. Stay seated with your seatbelt fastened when the seatbelt sign is on, and keep it fastened whenever you're seated in case of sudden rough air. In the event of rough air, the crew might also need to buckle up for safety. We appreciate your understanding if our service is interrupted.
Federal regulations require all passengers to comply with all crew members' instructions, along with the posted placards and lighted information signs throughout the cabin. Smoking, vaping, the use of e-cigarettes or any smokeless product, including chewing tobacco, is not allowed on any Delta flight. Federal law prohibits tampering with, disabling, or destroying restroom smoke detectors.
There are 6 exits on this plane, 4 doors, 2 on each side, and 2 window exits over the wings. Each door has a detachable slide that can be used for flotation. Escape straps are located in an overhead compartment above each window exit, which can be used to assist in a water evacuation onto the wing. In the event of an evacuation, leave all bags behind. Carry-in baggage will slow the evacuation. All exits are clearly marked with an exit sign. Locate the nearest exits, and remember, they might be behind you. If we lose power, lights will illuminate the aisles to guide you to an exit.
It's unlikely, but if cabin pressure changes, oxygen masks will drop from the panels above your seat and inside the lavatories. Reach up and pull a mask down to start the flow of oxygen. Remove any face covering and place the mask over your nose and mouth. Slip the elastic strap over your head and adjust the mask if necessary. Breathe normally and note the oxygen is flowing, so don't worry if the bag doesn't inflate. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
A water evacuation is also unlikely, but just in case, life vests are in a compartment beneath or adjacent to your seat. To use, remove the vest from its container by pulling on the tab and then opening the pouch. Slip the vest over your head, wrap the strap around your waist, attach it to the buckle in front, and adjust securely around your waist. As you leave the plane, inflate the vest by pulling down on the red tab at the bottom, or manually inflate it by blowing into the tube at shoulder level. A water-activated light is attached to each vest. For children under 35 pounds, place the vest around their waist and secure the strap between the legs. See your safety card for more information. Additional life vests for in-lap children are in marked compartments at the front and rear of the plane. We'll distribute these vests if necessary.
Before we take off, bring your seat to its upright position and stow your tray table. Be sure you fastened your seatbelt low and tight across your lap, carry-on items secured, and armrests are at resting position. Finally, take a moment to review the safety information card in your seat pocket.
As we finish our safety check, please let us know if you have any questions.
As we take off into the future, sit back and relax. And from all of our crew, thank you for flying with Delta, today and for the next 100 years.
Folks, hello from the flight deck. We are on our way to Kansas City. We are number 2 for departure. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for departure.
And ladies and gentlemen, please recheck the security of your seatbelts. Be certain that all seatbacks are in the full upright position. All tray tables, carrying items stored properly. If you're seated next to the windows, we ask that you please open all window shades at the time for our taxi or takeoff and landing. In the event of an aircraft emergency, you can lower them once we're airborne. Once again, our flight time is 2 hours and 37 minutes. Please keep in mind there is a time change. captain requests that all passengers stay seated with their seatbelts securely fastened, keeping all overhead bins closed until the seatbelt sign has been turned off. That will be your only indication that it's safe for you and the passengers to move from the cabin. You will see the flight attendants in the aisles before the seatbelt sign is off, but we ask that all passengers please stay seated. Please keep in mind that all the electronic cellular functions must remain disabled throughout the flight. There shall be no WhatsApp, FaceTime, Wi-Fi calling allowed on this or any Delta Airlines flights. Once we have reached our cruising altitude, leaving the aisle, starting our beverage service, and we do have flight fuel items, a limited amount of items for sale, and we do apologize if we get to your own. We don't have this selection choice available. Delta Airlines offer Coca-Cola products. We do have Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, tonic water, ginger ale, club soda, orange, apple, cranberry juices, and tomato juice. And we also have Bloody Mary mix. We have spirits, red and white wine, Prosecco, and beer available for purchase. We'll only accept major credit cards and debit cards for purchase of any items on today's flight. If you're seated in the main cabin, we do ask that you please stay in your cabin if service has passed with a transparent curtain. It's not allowed on this or any Delta Airlines to the forward part of the cabin. You'll find your two lavatories located in the back of the aircraft, and we ask that you please exercise courtesy in the facilities, as there's two lavatories for 70 people on today's flight. Movies, games, and audio will be available on today's flight. Just tap the screen in front of you, make your selection. Wi-Fi will be available, however, it can't be during that time, so we ask that you please try to connect if you lose your signal several times, as we the flight attendants do not have any control of the Wi-Fi signal to the aircraft. As you climb out, you have a wonderful view of the Los Angeles area on the left-hand side of the aircraft and the LAX airport that we just took off from. Once again, our flight time is 2 hours and 37 minutes. If there's anything that we do to make your flight more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to call about one of us. Good afternoon, welcome aboard, and thanks for selecting Delta. back to their full upright position and so unlock all tray tables at this time. If you had your individual viewing monitors out, they need to be stored back in your armrest for landing. Flight attendants will pass the cabin one last time. Please pass all remaining service items, all cups, glasses, anything you place in the seat pockets. We're going to ask that you please remove them at this time and have them ready for our collection. As we prepare for landing, if you're seated next to windows, please open all window shades at this time for landing in event of an emergency. Again, please raise the window shades into the position. We will be on the ground shortly. And recheck the security of your seatbelts. Thank you. City. This is the termination point of Flight 1517. For your continued safety, the captain requests that you please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the aircraft has come to a complete stop at the gate and the seatbelt sign is turned off. That will be your only indication that it is safe for you to move around the cabin. Please be careful in collecting your personal belongings, as items stowed in the overhead compartments may have shifted during flight and landing. If you need assistance with baggage claim, ground transportation, or gate connection information, the Delta representative greeting this flight will be able to assist you. On behalf of this New York City-based flight attendant crew and flight deck and Los Angeles-based flight deck crew, we'd like to wish you a pleasant stay here in Kansas City or wherever your final destination may take you. Local time here is 3:41. You experience a 2-hour time change. Welcome to Kansas City.
Yay.
Flight attendants, disarm your doors for arrival. Cross-check, please, and stand by for all call.